Hey Lisa, good afternoon. How are you?
How are you? I'm great.
I'm awesome.
I'm Lisa Gunner, and I'm now with Paramount Property Tax Appeal, and I've been in the commercial real estate industry for about 25 years, and I specialized in valuations for assessment appeals, both with the assessor on the government side and now in the private sector to really look at market value and fight the assessor now on the private side to reduce people's tax burden.
when you were working with the assessor, what did you specialize in?
I did specialize in commercial real estate and I worked in different areas. I started in the North District, so I was really doing the Valley a lot. But once I moved downtown and became a specialist, I was working all over the Los Angeles County, and Paramount Property Tax Appeal actually does all of California as well as some other states like Colorado and Texas.
So when you were with the assessor, you were working on behalf of the Los Angeles County tax assessor, and now with Paramount Property Tax Appeal, you're doing the complete opposite. You're working on the other end, helping
Exactly.
property owners, in essence, appeal or fight property tax assessments from the assessor.
Exactly. That expertise has put me in a position now where, as Director of Government Relations and also a senior evaluator for Paramount, we can look at your property and tell you whether you should file an appeal. And there's different kinds of appeals. There's an annual filing, and the bills are going to be coming out any minute. So this is our heavy review season.
How does an owner know that they should be filing an appeal to reduce their property taxes?
Well, really, they should just call us because we offer an appeal service that's free. It doesn't cost anything.
As far as the type of clientele that you guys cater and specialize, is it more residential, commercial, multifamily, or is it a mix?
It's actually everything. And in these times where the market is really affected by things like COVID and occupancy and vacancy and rent and expenses, it's true that affects multifamily and office and retail. But the housing market, as we know, is really crazy. And we can also help with new construction, with land, and those really are residential and commercial.
In your experience while working with the assessor and now also working with Paramount Property Tax Appeal, have you seen that there's been an increase not only in the number of properties that are being assessed at a higher amount, but have you seen that those increases, percentage wise, have they been higher more recently than they were previously, say before COVID?
I would say, especially since COVID, we've seen, like obviously everybody's working from home. So you're going to see that office occupancy go down, vacancy goes up, expenses go up. So we've actually seen apartments cap rates. They used to be like 3 to 4% from 2018 to 2022. And now with interest rates being higher, because that's a component, we're seeing cap rates around 5.5. And just think of it this way, for every 1% of cap rate, it's an 18% change in the value up or down, right? And so we're seeing office properties reductions that might be almost 60%.
What's the best way to determine fair market value in regards to assessments?
Well, for homes, it's going to be comparable sales because you have a good pool of data usually in a neighborhood, properties that are built around the same time. And so you're going to have similar sales. With apartments or other income producing properties, an income approach is used. And so we can do any of those methods, and including cost. If you just built something, the assessor may be looking at an addition or a new home or a new building, and they do partial completions. So we can help with any kind of reassessment issue.
And can clients reassess their properties any given time?
No, they cannot because of the filing period. And it's very important right now because the deadline, the bills are going to be coming out and people are going to be seeing these bills, but you can only file a regular annual appeal in Los Angeles County up till November 30th. Other times, like if you sell your property or you buy your property, and it's the buyer in this case who's going to get the new bill, but there may be other issues involved. For example, you initiate this sale and they find out, well, when someone passed away, there should have been some other filing of, a date of death or something, and you may get some surprise bill out of nowhere. That's a supplemental.
So deadline is November 30th.
November 30th. And what that value on your tax bill is determined as of what they call the lien date. And in Los Angeles County, in California, it's January 1st. So the bill you're seeing is the value as of January 1st. So you want to be looking at, things in your neighborhood that sold up until March, the end of March of 2023, because you can't use any sales after that. They'll be good for next year's filing.
So 6 months prior.
You can go farther back. It really depends. Like a lot of people think, well, I have a valuable home and market values going up and I shouldn't really file. And maybe you have a larger home that's atypical for your market. You can go back farther and you can go a little farther outside of your neighborhood. And we have different valuator experts at Paramount who specialize in different property types.
And are there any other ways that Paramount Property Tax Appeal can help taxpayers?
As I mentioned, we have ownership and also exemptions. For example, church properties can get different kinds of exemptions, and nonprofits can get what is called a welfare exemption. There's these ownership issues and, trust and wills and things like that. There's these different kinds of what we call ownership issues, partial and full completion of construction. And then also demolishing of buildings and changing the use, anything that causes a reassessment.
And do you have any last piece of advice?
I would just say that you want to call us right away because this deadline is November 30th. And one way you can think about it, especially if it's a home, because I don't want to just be talking to people who might be owning income producing properties. When you get your bill, your taxes are calculated on your market value, your assessed value. So you want to look at that value and think, is that a good indicator of the value of my home? And then you can ask someone like yourself, they can ask you on, is my property worth this? And if it's worth less, then you're being overassessed.
It wouldn't make any sense for a homeowner or a property owner to file an appeal if they believe their assessed value is way lower than market value, right?
That's correct. And you'll see that, and it's most clear to people who realize, well, I've owned my home for 20 years. And even if they don't, paint it every 10 years and replace the roof every 7 to 10 years or whatever is the norm for home maintenance, they're going to know, they're paying taxes on a home because people are pretty much aware of what things are selling for in their neighborhood, but they may not know all the time, well, that property is sold for this amount. That's what my house is worth, but their property might have been nicer than mine or not as nice as mine. And those are adjustments that, that we're expert at doing, but you're also expert at that. You're more expert at the residential actually than we are on any given day. I mean, if we have to go to appeal, then, we have experts to do that. But I pretty much am familiar with the LA County market, and I've got an idea, what can be done, but you really have access to the MLS and know the market. That's how we met, is you came and knocked on my door, and being in the same profession, I like to keep my property up, because I know it's making my neighborhood, a place where people want to buy.
Yeah, definitely. You have a nice home, by the way, one of the nicest ones on the block.
Oh, thank you.
And then the last question that I have for you is, I run across this a lot actually when I'm talking to people in person about just giving them information about what's happening in the market. For the past 9 or 10 years that I've been in real estate, one of the most common questions that I ask is, how is it that assessor's office increases the assessed value on any given home? What is it that happens on their end that they increase it?
Well, there's the good news is there's very particular laws, and of course Prop 13 and also Prop 8 means there's really only some circumstances where you're going to see a dramatic increase. There's a limit. It's a maximum of 2%. And sometimes in bad years, it even goes down a little bit, but it's based on CPI. However, you might have a situation, for example, where the Prop 13 is really like a ceiling. Let's say you bought it in 1 year and it goes up and up by this 2%, and this is where it is, but the market drops. And then it goes back up. That increase is actually more than 2%, but that's because you had a decline in value of Prop 8. But generally, you're only going to see that assessed value change by 2% if you don't add to your property. For example, if I add a bedroom and build, then you're going to see an increase for that square footage.
It makes sense. So maximum, if it's not under Prop 13, is 2% increase per year.
Prop 13 is the law that just says, we cannot reassess your property. For example, this home where it has a base value from maybe 1980 or 1990, because the family has lived there a long time, right? They cannot be reassessed to the current market value. Whereas other states, that's not the rule. Like they reassess like every 3 years just to what the new market value is. So we have a great protection. But Prop 8 says this annual filing period, if the market has gone down, you can actually get your value reduced. But there's still this ceiling, it could never go higher than, which is that base value plus the 2 or 1 or CPI percent.
So you having all the experience from working at the assessors only helps you that much more on being a specialist at Paramount Property Tax Appeal.
It's true, but I also, before I went to the assessor, I worked in commercial real estate. So I understand how the market actually works, and not to disparage my brothers and sisters who are my former colleagues there. It's different when you have a property that you actually need it to give you income, and you realize that there are problems and you can't get that income, then your property is not worth what you bought it for. And that really, we need to bring that attention to them. And I think that's where, I get a lot of joy out of my job, because I can look at it from the taxpayer's point of view.
Makes sense. Yeah. Well, Lisa, I appreciate you being on here. Thank you so much for your time. I can imagine a ton of people are going to find it very beneficial.
Thank you. I hope so. I really enjoy it, and I'm happy to help with the free review.
Thank you. I'll post your information online. Anyone that has any questions could reach out to me as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.